All I need is some sunshine. All I need, all I need is some sunshine. All I need.
Greetings, I'm your host, Dr. Wolfula, and when I'm not distributing MP3 recordings of my Necronomicon Ex Mortis readings, I'm here at the Wolfula, reviewing movies. With October finally upon us, we'll be revisiting classic icons of horror that make this season worth celebrating. Let's start off October chronologically with the first adventure of Ashley Williams, the Deadite-slaying, boomstick and chainsaw-wielding S-Mart employee of legend, and the star of the Evil Dead series. Before I get to Ash's first appearance in The Evil Dead, though, I'm gonna go back a little further and talk about the origins of the film. Of course I am. A great deal of my reviews spends a lot of time with incessant backstory info. I find it to be charming. There were these two best pals in Michigan named Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. The two guys made amateur 8mm short films together with their friends and family, but they had dreams of entering the film business themselves. They were little boys that wanted to be big boys. Now, Sam was a fan of horror and wanted to make his own film in the genre, but not just a short, a full-length motion picture. Making a movie is no simple task, of course, especially back in the 70s, so Sam and his good friend Bruce decided to make another short film together as a prototype of the feature they aimed to make, and as a showcase of their talents to grab the attention of investors that could fund this motion picture. This short film that these buddies, Sam and Bruce, made was called Within the Woods. Within the Woods is about 4 teenagers who go out to a cabin surprisingly within the woods. Sound familiar? 2 of these teens, a couple, frolic within the woods where they have a picnic. Within the woods, Ellen, played by Ellen Sandweiss, and Bruce, played by Bruce Campbell, of course, discover that they're camping over an Indian burial ground within the woods. Did I mention that they're within the woods? Indian burial grounds are bad news in any horror movie, but Bruce insists to Ellen that as long as they don't disturb the graves of the dead, then they won't be cursed.
Don't worry about it. You're only cursed by the evil spirits if you violate the graves of the dead.
So, Bruce pockets an ancient Indian dagger he finds nearby. Seriously, dude, follow your own advice. You can see the origins of Ash's poor decision-making. So it goes without saying that the dead Native Americans are pissed and unleash their fury upon the white people messing with their stuff. How come dead Native Americans always get so pissy when folks swipe their knickknacks or build malls over their graves? Come on, move on, guys. You're dead. Deal with it. Written and directed by Sam Raimi in 1978, Within the Woods was never officially released, so the only copies of the flick are bootlegged and of an extremely poor quality. So watching the short was pretty hard on me, but only because I couldn't fucking tell what was going on. The bootleg Within the Woods is just so blurry and pixelated and dark and grainy and fuzzy and glitchy, I could go on. The point is, it looks bad. The quality is worse than my old videos, believe it or not. I will say this though, there's a bit of a creep factor to the poor video quality. I mean, because it's so hard to tell what's happening, it felt like I was watching an old snuff film. Not that I know what it's like to watch a snuff film, of course. Sure, I may have an extensive collection of snuff films, but I haven't watched any of them, and I certainly didn't participate in any of them either. It's perfectly legal to own footage of unsolved murders, right? I don't know. It's hard to be scared of something if you have to squint to be able to see it, and if I don't know what's going on, I can't get all that invested in a movie. The poor video quality isn't the fault of the filmmakers, of course, it's just really unfortunate. The Evil Dead series and its creators owe everything they have to Within the Woods. Without this little short film from 1978, the world of horror would probably look a lot different. Besides that obvious point, Within the Woods also contains little hints to the series it would spawn. There's a scene where Ellen is chased by some invisible force, Bruce is possessed and says join us, and of course, most of the horror in the short happens within a cabin, not in the woods. Then there are the little things like makeup effects, spooky tricks, and camera techniques that would be employed in later Sam Raimi joints. Within the Woods is an important film and an interesting bit of history, but it's not all that fun to watch in its current state. It's only 30 minutes, but that 30 minutes was brutal. I'd skip Within the Woods unless you're a fan, but even then, just skim through it. Within the Woods was integral in helping Sam Raimi drum up the funds necessary to make a full-length motion picture. With the higher budget and longer runtime, Raimi expanded on the ideas present in Within the Woods and reimagined it as The Evil Dead, released in 1981. You know the drill. 5 college students are on a trip to a cabin within the woods, somewhere near Morristown, Tennessee. Out of these 5 kids, there are 2 romantic couples. Scotty's with Shelley, and Linda's paired with the main character, Ashley Ash Williams. Yeah, the guy's named Ashley. It used to primarily be named for dudes, but then that soap opera The Young and the Restless had a female character named Ashley in it, and then Ashley becomes a girl's name all of a sudden. Ashley's a pretty cool name, honestly. Ashley. Then we got the odd man, odd woman out. Cheryl, Ash's sister. Cheryl ain't got nobody, and even if this trip turned out to be safe, with Cheryl around, something's gonna get killed. The mood. A buzz killer is worse than any actual killer. From the outset, things are off at the cabin. At first, it's just little stuff, like a porch swing seeming to have a mind of its own, or Cheryl's hand being forced to draw some book, but, you know, stuff like that is just trivial. Later on, though, during dinner, the fruit seller's trapdoor swings open, which instigates an unarmed investigation into whoever or whatever might be squatting in this isolated cabin. Luckily, the cellar isn't occupied by a deranged homeless man. Instead, Scotty and Ash discover some kind of weird book with a face that looks sort of like Ernest Borgnine. Inscribed on the pages appears to be what a teenage boy would draw with a red Papermate pen in his composition book during class. Much more metal than that, though. Scotty finds a dagger made of tiny people bones, I guess, that resembles something that Ash may have once fucked.
This kind of looks like your old girlfriend.
Oh, Scotty. The book is total gibberish to a bunch of college kids looking to have a good time. So, luckily, they also found a tape recording for a bit of context on what they found.
It has been a number of years since I began excavating the ruins of Kandar with a group of my colleagues.
According to the tape, the previous occupants of the cabin were Professor Raymond Noby and his wife, Henrietta. The professor was using this retreat in the woods as an excuse to get some work done without being disturbed by whatever disturbs a professor. During his stay at the cabin, Noby was researching the freaky-ass book that he discovered in some Canadarian ruins. The book is called Naturam de Monto, roughly translated as The Book of the Dead. Later, flicks took to calling the book the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, which is good because Naturam de Monto sounds like a spell from Harry Potter. A Sumerian text, the book is bound in human flesh and inked in human blood, which is how Scholastic makes their books. The Necronomicon is basically the Betty Crocker cookbook of demons. It's got insider info on the demonic spirits that lay dormant all around us, and incantations to resurrect these demons. I think the book also has a good recipe for mutton stew.
It is through recitation of these passages that the demons are given license to possess the living.
Cheryl isn't too keen to hear the rest of Noby's creepy recording, but Scotty never leaves anything half done, even if it's something that might kill him. It's just not the Scotty way. So Scott skips to the part where Noby reads an incantation from the book, which seems to trigger a Judas Priest concert, but no, it's like, demons. Didn't see that coming. Alright, so demons are very possessive. They want to take over everything about you, much like your ex. Unlike your ex, though, demons just enter your body instead of snooping through your social media, so in this way, demons are slightly less annoying than your ex, though it's a bit harder to dump a demon once it's entered your life. Well, it can go either way, actually. When a demon possesses something, it becomes a deadite. Deadites come in all kinds of different flavors. Cheryl first encounters the Deadites in probably the most awkward way imaginable that doesn't involve parents. You see, Cheryl hears some noises coming from the woods, so she decides to check it out. By herself. Now, at this point, Cheryl thinks that the demons are just some guy messing with her, but that still doesn't explain why she thinks it's a good idea to go out exploring the woods at night, alone, to confront whatever has been stalking her. I mean, she's in Tennessee, for God's sake. That's so close to where they shot Deliverance. It's scary. Well, it goes without saying that Cheryl is attacked in the woods, but not just in the woods, but by the woods. Oh, okay, yeah, well, Cheryl is restrained by the trees, and then a stray branch goes, somewhere. That's all I can say for sure. Well, it's certainly one way to get word of mouth out about your horror movie. Full disclosure, if you happen to be an avid Tumblr user, chances are that you might want to skip this flick because this scene is so triggering and offensive. I love it! I'm kind of disappointed that Sam Raimi didn't recreate the tree scene in Spider-Man 2 with Spidey and Doc Ock. Oh, you thought the hospital scene was scary, kids? Well, wait until you see what happens when Spidey fights a guy whose superpower is tentacles. Ugh. It's hard to top grabby trees, but the Evil Dead's bread and butter is human possessions. After Cheryl's cuddle session with Mother Nature, she becomes changed, and not just in the understandable splintery kind of way, but in the real ugly Deadite kind of way. Cheryl becomes the host to a demonic entity that makes Regan's possession look like a bad case of the hiccups.
You will die! Like the others before you. One by one we will take you.
From this point forward, the movie is all about the group surviving the onslaught of seemingly unstoppable Deadite possessions until sunrise, and all Ash has is a boomstick. It's pretty hopeless. The story of the Evil Dead is simple, but there's a nice sort of mythology set up with the Deadites, and once the groundwork is established, the whole second half of the movie is non-stop exciting horror. If you can really pull off the scares in your horror flick, you can get away with a slim story that's mostly just exposition.
I know now that my wife has become host to a Kandarian demon. I fear that the only way to stop those possessed by the spirits of the book is through the act of bodily dismemberment.
The story just does its job to get Ash to that point where he's dealing with friends and family tormenting him, but in the violent kind of way. It works well. There are only slight hints of personality in the characters, but it's enough. The character with the most personality is Scotty, who is clearly the jokey, kind of obnoxious frat guy leader of the group.
Party down! Yeah!
Cheryl is the sensitive artiste that can tell right away when something is wrong. Then there are the girlfriends. Linda is very optimistic, and Shelley, well, she's very pessimistic.
Well, it might not be that bad.
No.
Actually, it might be kind of nice.
Yeah. It's probably a real pit.
That's pretty much it. Of course, we have the main character Ash Williams, played by Bruce Campbell, popularly known as a wisecracking, undependable, but badass Deadite slayer. In the first Evil Dead, Ash is just kind of a goof, but still he's a nice guy, with no hints of sass.
As a Greek friend of mine once said, he said, Oh, okay. Nis. Two tarim.
Some say that this is character development, but I just think it's a simple case of retooling a character to be more interesting.
Oh, Ash, please don't let them take me away again. Please.
No, I won't. I won't, I promise. Give me some sugar, baby.
Ash is the most likable guy in the movie, and he's a pretty good protagonist. Just don't get disappointed when you don't see Ash crudely attach a chainsaw where a hand used to be. That's the next movie. It's pretty damn cool. The main attraction of the original Evil Dead isn't Ash, but the Deadites, and with very good reason. On a purely surface level, the makeup effects on the Deadites are impressive, especially as things progress and the Deadites become increasingly less human, with their faces decaying and showing so many tiny details. It goes way past just simple zombie makeup. I mean, the makeup can look silly sometimes. You can see the seams here and there are some inconsistencies in the way things look, but hey! It's a low-budget horror flick made by amateur filmmakers. Overall, the makeup looks good and unique. The only truly iffy makeup job in the flick is on Linda, who just looks like a Waffle House waitress. I guess that's kinda scary. Going a little deeper into what makes the Deadites work are the performances of the actors playing them.
Thank you. I don't know what I would have done if I had remained on those hot coals, burning my pretty flesh.
The standout being Ellen Sandweiss as Cheryl. Sandwise seems like she's just having the time of her life being as crazy, evil, and petty as possible.
Kill her if you can. Lover boy.
It's pretty freaky. All of the Deadites have a bit of their own personality to them, like Betsy Baker's Linda, who has more of this childlike, manic energy to her that's pretty disturbing.
We're gonna get you, not another peep. Time to go to sleep.
Of course, Ted Raimi, Sam Raimi's brother, had a hand in playing the Deadites in some shots, but it's hard to tell where. Oh wait, I think that was him. Then, finally, there's the piece de resistance of the Evil Dead's effects. The violence, the blood, and the gore. The Deadites really like to get their hands dirty. Once you reach the point of no return, there's rarely a moment that goes by without something getting really hurt. Yeah, the Evil Dead has no shortage of blood and gore, but it also has no shortage on how to use it all creatively. Cut a Deadite's hand? They'll knock clean off. Stab a Deadite in the back with a satanic bone dagger? Yeah, you'll see blood and steam coming out of that dagger's skull. A Deadite is the most dramatic thing you could possibly kill. They really know how to milk a death. I mean, hey, they got dead in their names. A triumph against the Deadites is sort of a mixed bag because you gotta kill a friend, and their deaths are horrifyingly gruesome. Also, really gross. Even in death, the Deadites are full of surprises because they might bleed, or they might shoot out pus, or even some kind of nasty applesauce. It ain't pretty. Yeah, the gore in Evil Dead can range in variety from cool to nauseating to genuinely upsetting. Especially that fucking pencil stabbing. Jeez, that still gets to me. Ugh. Evil Dead may use violence effectively, but it still manages an old-school charm with the inventive ways Raimi shot the thing. The camera is like another unseen demon constantly watching the group of friends from the outset, and there's just this uneasiness to the look of the flick. Like the characters have entered some other creepy dimension that resembles the real world, but it definitely isn't, and nothing is what it appears to be. Then there are the cool, quick cuts that make simply tying somebody up feel like the most important thing in the world. The low budget of The Evil Dead also kind of helps boost the horror a bit, because you feel like the cast and crew themselves are also in danger in the movie. Everything, the cabin, the woods, looks so actually unsafe, unlike a lot of higher budget horror flicks out there. Add to that the fact that Sam Raimi loved to torture his actors. I feel like I need to get a tetanus shot just watching this movie. So across the board, The Evil Dead is shot extremely well, especially for a first-time film. But there was one scene that was shot in a way that didn't make any sense to me. Ash is giving Linda a gift, so we mostly just see close-ups of their eyes for an extended period of time without any dialogue, just, music. I guess maybe it's supposed to be awkward? I don't know. It's not quite romantic. Crucial to any horror movie is sound, and The Evil Dead is horrible to listen to. Which is a good thing. Whether she's screaming in pain or dishing out threats, Cheryl's Deadite voice is extremely memorable, with some kind of otherworldly reverb constantly fluctuating for emphasis. And when a Deadite dies, it sounds really painful. There's also a nice atmospheric quality to a lot of the quieter scenes, especially when the invisible demon is on the prowl that sounds like you're inside a plane piloted by Satan, which is a Delta Airlines flight, by the way. Though the musical score of The Evil Dead by Joseph LoDuca is nothing all that special. It's standard horror movie music, and it sounds fine, but it's just not as iconic as everything else in the movie. There was one piece near the end that stood out to me as a very good track that gets across a bittersweet feeling of triumph. Alright, it's that time again. Spoilers! I'm gonna talk about The Evil Dead's ending. There's not a whole lot to really spoil, but still, you might not want to ruin it, so skip here just in case you don't want any spoilers at all. Ash finally realizes that the source of all of this evil dead is probably the Naturom Demonto. Of course. So he manages to burn the book while under attack by Deadites Scotty and Cheryl. It's sort of a ho-hum way to beat the Deadites, but what makes the ending of The Evil Dead so great is how the Deadites lose. Tom Sullivan, the Evil Dead's effects wizard, went to town making the death of the Deadites one of the most memorable endings in horror film history. Stop-motion animation is utilized to depict the Deadites running away in the most bizarre, weird-looking way possible. And you think that's it, but no. Huge demon Yowie hands explode out of the Deadite bodies, and Ash's friends just implode into applesauce and bugs right in front of him. This fucking blew my mind when I first saw it on VHS. I couldn't believe what was happening in front of me. It just came out of the blue. The Evil Dead saved the best for last. Most definitely. Ash believes he has won and enjoys the sunrise, but he'll soon discover that things just aren't easy with the Deadites. Sounded like Goofy's holler. The Evil Dead is an essential horror movie. A classic. The flick has got the right mix of scary, /fun, /cool, /creepy, /disturbing, /disgusting in it to make it mandatory viewing for every horror fan. Especially if you're interested in making horror films yourself. The Evil Dead has a lot of flaws, but as Sam Raimi demonstrated, it's okay if you don't get every little thing right with your first horror movie, because you might get just enough right to have made a classic. I give The Evil Dead a hacked-apart she-bitch out of those fucking trees, man. Shut up, Linda!
Oh, well, I'll be going home together. Wouldn't you like to be going home? Bet you'd like that, wouldn't you?